to close our 43rd annual season with a live performance. The stars just sort of aligned for this particular concert. Acoustic Eidolon, who had been on our program, Acoustic Eidolon, I should say, they're actually on tour. And so we kind of moved the dates around to accommodate their schedules so that we could all be here in person today. So once again, thank you all for coming. It is terrific to see so many friendly faces, familiar faces, and we look forward to a full in-person season starting in August like we would normally do. The venue, of course, is very much subject to, uncertainty at this point. We would obviously love for those regulars among you to give us your feedback about what you think about today and the venue and the acoustics and the experience, because obviously we are looking very closely at moving to Hilltop Center should the library be unable to accommodate us in the fall. Always, always, always we like to thank and acknowledge all of the people who have made such generous contributions to the organization in support of our concert season, especially this year in the pandemic and what was obviously a very difficult year for so many. Want to also make shout out and thank all of the board members who are here today. Steve Burns, who's sitting here, he has been the primary driving force to allow this concert to take place here at Hilltop Center. We have Jody Jenner, who actually was her idea to even have the ensemble, this particular ensemble, here with us today. We have Sharon Robinson in the back, who her husband is out front helping my son Jake to assist and handle front of house issues and getting everybody taken and registered and in. And then Janet Silver is our brand new board member. I don't know if any of you know Janet. Janet just moved from Orange County, and she is videotaping, if you will, on her iPhone, the concert today. So if you know people who aren't able to come, we hope, crossing fingers, that this concert will be posted on our website, just as we have been doing all along. So we do hope that everybody who normally has been watching and following Fallbrook Music Society will still have the opportunity to do so. So on that happy note, I want to give a big shout out and a big Fallbrook welcome to Acoustic Eidolon Joe Scott and Hannah Alkire. Please welcome them to Fallbrook.
Yeah. Big shout out to Miss Anne Murray. Thank you, Anne. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Oh, we're thrilled to be here. We're really happy you chose to join us this afternoon. It's actually our first time here to Fallbrook. We've been in this region many, many times, but first time here. So I'm Joe, and that's Hannah, lest there be any confusion here this afternoon. And we live just north of Boulder, Colorado. And this is a little short tour of 5 concerts in 3 different states. And first time in 13 months, so we are just, we're just loving bringing the music back. And yeah, we're going to be doing music from our 13 CDs, so we're going to be here a while. And but we're going to start off with a tune from our previous CD. This is an old Simon and Garfunkel tune that I think you might recognize. Very nice. So, anybody here, has anyone here ever seen us before? Please show of hands. Oh, a couple. Great. Okay. Looks like a few. So, hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Well, a lot of new folks. I just want to take a moment and explain to you what separates Hannah and myself from all the other guitar-cello duos you see out there these days. And it's actually this double neck acoustic that I'm playing. This is an instrument that I designed and had custom built. I call this my 14-string double neck gitjo. It's also affectionately known around the country as dos neckis as well. Some beer drinkers out there. I grew up playing 5-string bluegrass banjo as well as guitar. So I went to a guitar builder and said, you know, I'd like you to build me a guitar with 2 necks. And I would like the bottom neck strung like a banjo. So those first 5 strings are the same as a banjo, but I had him add 2 additional melody strings for a total of 7. The upper neck is strung like a regular guitar, but it has an extra bass string for its additional string. And then I've developed this technique where I play both necks at the same time. And I do that by playing melody notes with my right hand on the bottom strings. And while that hand's busy with melody, that frees up my left hand to pick bass notes and chords on this upper neck. You can pick a string instrument with your left hand or your right hand. There's no difference. Or there's a technique called a hammer-on and a pull-off or hammer-on. Right? With a hammer-on, you can play Smoke on the Water with one hand if you'd like to. So anyway, bass notes and chords here, melody here. Does that make sense? It's kind of like 2 guitar players in one, right? It's a lot cheaper for us to travel. But anyway, so yeah, it's a fabulous instrument. That's a single neck, 4-string, fairly easy to play cello. And, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So anyway, no, that's a cello, and it's Hannah will be telling you all about that great instrument here shortly.
Yes, I will. But first we'd like to sing you a song, and this is one that's from our Ancient Lovers CD a couple CDs ago, and it's a love song that we wrote for a house. And the reason we did that is because I think a lot of us, somewhere along our life's journey, we bond with a house. And I did at a young age with my grandparents' house. So I grew up in Champaign, Illinois, in the middle of the prairie, and my grandparents lived in Easton, Pennsylvania, which is on the New Jersey border, and it's where the rivers come together there. This house is an old row house that sits right downtown, so it's just full of personality and character, and it also means that it sits about a block and a half or so from the Crayola factory. So, if you've ever wondered where crayons come from, ta-da, now you know, Easton, Pennsylvania. But my grandparents had nothing to do with crayons, really. They were actually both full-time musicians in this house with a music business. And my grandfather invented instruments called A-harps, and he's actually in the Steel Guitar Hall of Fame for those inventions. And then he also composed music and he taught. And my grandmother actually taught guitar in that house until she was 90, and then she retired. Took a few years off. And so my dad was raised there to be a classical and jazz pianist, and so there were just decades of music in those walls. And Joe and I would stay at this house and use it as a home base from time to time on our East Coast tours some years ago. And we were doing just that, but it was around the time that collectively, as a family, we had decided that it was time to let the house go and put it up for sale. And so as it turned out, that weekend that we were there, it went under contract. And so my dad called us and said, well, you get to say goodbye in person, and good luck with that. Because he knew how hard it would be. And sure enough, that weekend, Joe and I realized that we had to help this house write its song. And so this is actually the house singing its song to you. It's not me singing. And it's singing its song to my dad, because he was lucky enough to grow up in this house and have it as a touchstone through the decades, which I always thought must have been amazing. So it's just called The Address of the House, 75 North 2nd Street. And tonight we want to dedicate this to Jody for having us in her house years ago for the house concert, and also to David and Melissa, because they're the ones who put on the series that booked Jody's house. So this is for the three of you. 75 North 2nd Street. I stood here 200 years and held each of your lives. My four walls surround you night after night. My laughter is silent, but I echo with your talk. Doorways telling stories, stairways that can walk. Your father's hands were never still, creating every day. Instruments and music, and teaching how to play. Your mother's smile still radiates through dust and sunlit beams. Shelves and shelves of their life work, I held them all those years. And as the years roll by, my roof has kept you dry. I'm the shelter from the storms, and my glory will not fade. This family remain. You're the beating of my heart. I watched you walk away to ride a bus to school, with a backpack and lunch pail, crayons as your tools. At night you played piano, filled my rooms with your soul. Chopin, Brahms, and Beethoven, their stories you told. And as the years roll by, my roof has kept you dry. I'm the shelter from the storms, and my glory will not fade. This family remain. You're the beating of my heart. I taught you a foundation can crack and still be strong. Banisters are boundaries, but the world can still go wrong. Window seats that held your tears when it rained from within. Shelves of creativity, then dust settled in. Plaster cracks like wrinkles tell my story over time. Cupboards painted by aging hands, their silence is mine. I creaked with your laughter, held my breath when you cried. I played the silence in the melodies of your life, and now a new family plays across my floor. 75 North 2nd Street, still nailed above my door. 200 years I've been here, and 100 more I'll stand. Four walls and a lot of soul, generations in my hands. And as the years roll by, my roof has kept you dry. I'm the shelter from the storms, and my glory will not fade.
This family remains.
You're the beating of my heart. You're still the beating of my heart. Thank you very much. So the time has come for me to tell you about my amazing, magnificent cello. And her story actually started back in the 90s when I met a cello builder named Christopher Dungy, who was living near me in Colorado. And I met him I found him on this international strings directory of luthiers, but he was right in my area. So I thought, well, I've got to meet him. And he only builds cellos, and that also caught my eye. And so I called him up out of the blue and said, I would love to know the next time you have a cello built that I could come play. And he said, well, wow, are you in luck? Because I just finished one yesterday. And he only builds between 3 and 4 a year. It takes that long for each one. So it was kind of a rare day. So I drove over to his shop the next day, and I was a little bit nervous, to be honest, because for years I had heard this cello voice in my head and never found it in an instrument. And I was right on that edge of kind of giving up on finding this voice. And so I drove to his shop, I sat down, and I played this brand new cello that had never been played before. And it had that sound. And so I had goosebumps and tears and the whole bit. I commissioned a cello that day from him, and I took delivery of it about a year later when he finished building it. And that cello and I started singing through our years together. Well, we only got a few years into that beautiful journey before that cello was actually in an airline accident. And it was just devastated. It split open the top and it splintered open the back, and it devastated the instrument.
United Airlines.
Well, it was. And yes, we're still naming them. But I just took the pieces back to Chris Dungy, back to the maker, and I said, just bring her back to life. Do whatever you have to do. And Chris said to me, well, Hannah, I'm going to have to recarve a new top to the cello and a new back. And the back is the voice of the instrument. But he said, I have a piece of wood in my shop, and I just checked it. It turns out that it comes from the same tree as your original cello. And I thought that was just amazing. So that's what he used to rebuild her. And so I took delivery of her about a year after that when he finished. And at this point, I named this cello Phoenix, right? Because we've done our rising. And so Phoenix and I have been singing through our years ever since, very happily. Well then, about 4 years ago, he called us up, and Chris did again, and he said, you're not going to believe this, but I've just come into possession of another piece of wood from that exact same tree. And he just said to me, Hannah, you seem to have this relationship with this tree. And it's true, I do. So we had a whole lot of conversations, but the bottom line was that I had this cello built as well from that piece of wood. So this is Phoenix's little sister, and she just told us her name on the tour we were on right before the world closed down a year ago. So she said that her name is Sun Warrior. And so Sun Warrior has been bouncing up and down in her case for months now, waiting to come play for you all. So she's so excited to finally be in California. She's very excited.
Yeah, and the rest of the story is that when Chris finished the build of this cello, we discovered there was enough wood left over to build this guitar. So these two instruments are built from the same curly maple back and sides and neck. Ooh, right? And the same Engelmann spruce top. And so what that actually means is we had twins. We did. They're fraternal. They're not identical, but they're definitely twins. And as you can imagine, they've inspired a lot of new music. Our 12th CD is actually a CD called A Tree Finds Its Voice, which was inspired by these two instruments.
That's right. So we came out with this in just a couple months after we took delivery of our new babies. And so now Sun Warrior just turned 3 last July. So both of these guys did, both twins did. So it's pretty exciting. So so we'd like to do that title cut called A Tree Finds Its Voice. And in this song, it's now the tree that is going to sing to you. It's still not me. But we had to get out of the way for this curly maple tree. that was growing on the Oregon side of the Oregon-Washington border, but in those mountains there. So here we go. Count my rings, and now you've learned in 43 a forest burned. Beside my roots a river flowed, my branches reached and turned to gold. You cut me down to hear my voice, from trunk to scroll I had no choice. But now I'm living through hollow curves, roots to strings, now I'm heard. I'm like the phoenix, starting chords upon the sun, setting fire to the part of you that feels the drum. And now I'm singing with fingers on steel, heartbeats on wood, making me real. Carved I dance as if we're one, my melodies you've not yet sung. I'm the cry down in your bones, whispering the silken tones. And I'm the words you cannot say, the voice you heard, don't turn away. You and I, we are free. You're the song, I'm the tree. I'm like a phoenix, starting chords upon the sun, setting fire to the part of you that feels the drum. And now I'm singing with fingers on steel, heartbeats on wood, making me I'm the cry down in your bones, whispering with silken tones. Beside my roots a river flows, my branches reach and turn to gold. Thank you. So I'd like to play you this next piece, which is actually a cello solo piece that I wrote a few years back, and I wrote it for my son. So when Joe and I started playing music together, it was actually 22 years ago, which is amazing. And we just started this musical journey as business partners. We kind of did things out of order, and then we fell in love. That was out of order, really. And then we got married 19 years ago, and so and we blended. When we got married, we blended 3 boys from our separate flocks into one flock. And so my guy's the youngest, and he just turned 24 this last September. And so, so this is a song that I wrote for him when he was getting ready to leave and move out of the house and grow up and do all those things. And so, so it's the time of life, of course, that put us in the empty nest part. And truly, that was the part of the empty nest I was not prepared for. Seriously, I was just so sad. But now, a few years, down the road from all of that, it's amazing to watch these guys, all of our guys, find their passion, find their path, try things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but then they keep trying other things, and it's just, it's so cool to get to be a spectator, like sort of like this in these guys' lives. And so that's where this piece came from, and I wrote it to be sort of a conversation, a single voice conversation, just with the cello solo, but between, all the things that the young person wants. My son wanted his direction and his journey, and all the things that I was trying not to say anymore, and my new journey, and then, kind of mixing that as they eventually wind up into one new path. And so this piece is called The Journey from Water to Sky. So we have a brand new CD out. We decided with this time off the road, rather than name it quarantine, we decided to call it our creative sabbatical. And in all these years of playing music together, the one thing we've never ever done is taken a break and just come off the road to go creative or go deeper into other things. And so I went kayaking, and Joe rode his bike a whole bunch, and we wrote a bunch of new music. And so we have a brand new CD that came out of that time, and it's called Remembering the Sun. And it's based on this Inupiaq concept. The Inupiaq are the people that live up in the very north slope of Alaska. And they have this concept of remembering the sun, and they have symbols for it, and tattoos that they do to help themselves remember. And they really need to remember it because they live in the polar circle, the Arctic Circle. So they have the polar night for 67 days of the year, and then they have the midnight sun for 67 days of the year. And so they really have honed the concept of hanging on to the light in the times of utter darkness. And I was so captivated by that concept. My son and I got to take a mom-son trip up to the very top of Alaska and really get to know the people there and these concepts about a year and a half ago or so. And so this next piece that we'd like to do was inspired by my great-great-grandfather. His name was Charles Brower, Charles Brower, and he years ago, when he was a young man, he wrote a book called 50 Years Below Zero. And the reason he did that is because when he was a young man, he went up on a whaling ship to the very, very top of Alaska, and they dropped him off there with a lumber pack and a buddy and said, okay, here's the deal. You survive the winter and build a whaling station, so good luck with all of that. And we'll come back next August when the ice should break up and melt enough to get a ship in. We'll come in and check on you. And so he did, and they did, and he absolutely fell in love with the land and the people, and married an Inupiaq woman named Nacharona, and their first daughter was my great-grandmother, and I'm named after both of those women. And so it was just the most powerful experience when Zach and I, a year and a half, took this mom-son trip and went up. We went up to meet this whole branch of our family that we had always known about and never met. And it was just absolutely life-changing. And so we both came back. They gave us Inupiaq names, and so it inspired this song. You know, a lot of things came out of it. There's so many stories to tell you, but I want to sing you the song instead. So this is the song that is called 50 Years Below Zero, which is part of my great-great-grandfather's story, part of Nacharona's story, and then our story, and getting to go up there and meet them and be part of this huge family. So even though it's nice and warm here and sunshiny, I think you'll hear a bit of the snow and the ice in this piece. Stories of the land blown across the icy sea, rising over time, bringing you back to me. Now I'm moving through the storms, chasing away the night, part fire, skin, and dreams. Remember below zero, your story beats in my heart. Icy shores, midnight sun, your courage is a force and your ways carry on. On a whaling ship he came, a young man chasing dreams. He forged a bridge of souls in a station by the sea. He listened to their ways, he learned to sing their songs. They taught him of the North, he replied by staying strong. 50 years below zero, her stories dance in my heart. Icy shores, midnight sun, your courage is a force and your ways carry on. He promised to return, but 2 long years crawled by. She thought the sea had won and moved closer to the sky. The wind, it freezes tears, so she turned back to the land. There she carved her life from feathers, bones, and sand. All those years below zero, your story sings in my blood. Icy shores, midnight sun, your courage is a force and your ways carry on. Remembering our stories, we must listen to the land. Illuminate my core, take me by the hand. Sisters of the sun, and the fires that light the night, dancing with the drums, hearts that will ignite. 50 years below zero, your stories dance in my heart. Icy shores, midnight sun, your courage is a force and your words. All those years below zero, your stories dance in my heart. Ancient shores, midnight beauty, your courage is a force and your ways carry on. Thank you very much.
Nice. So Hannah and I do about 120 concerts a year, typically, except for COVID years. And those are all over the US, here in Europe. It's quite an honor and a privilege to get to travel and share our music with folks. So those travels really influence us, as you can tell. But we're going to do a tune now, a Celtic-inspired piece. A lot of our music is inspired by that wonderful tradition of music. This is called The Calling of the Moor. Kind of.
Thank
now I call out to thee. You are the one who brings the dawn, you are the one who comes to see. You are the one who gives me hope, and your touch has set me free.
He calls out to me when I bend with the wind. My soul wanders free, still he calls me again. His strength in his dust, and his hand reaches far. And my heart sings alone, still he calls me again. To take you back a couple of CDs with this next tune, back to A Tree Finds Its Voice anyway. And this is a Joni Mitchell tune that we decided to cover, and we decided to do her Both Sides Now. And so when we finished recording this CD about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, this was actually the final piece that we had recorded for the CD. So when we finished this one, we went out to dinner to celebrate, because making a CD is a huge undertaking, and we spend a lot of hours and leave, the whole proverbial blood, sweat, and tears behind in the process as well, or as part of it. And so we went out to dinner to celebrate with some Canadian musician friends of ours who were visiting us in Colorado at the time. And they were talking about Joni Mitchell and Both Sides Now, and they said, "Oh man, you've heard the French version of that song, right?" And no, we had not. So right there in the restaurant, they started singing it to us in French. And it was so
embarrassing.
Well, I was going to say it was so captivating to hear an old friend like this song, but sung in another language, that Joe and I made this quick transition from being our celebratory selves to saying to our friends, "Guys, this has been great, but we got to go back to work." And so we went back into our recording studio the next day and put part of this song into French so that you could hear it this way as well. So yeah, and then we went out to dinner to celebrate. Then we were really done. And so, but here's the thing, lots of it's in English, and you'll probably remember lots of the words as they come by you. So feel free to sing with me. We can make this a whole room sing-along effort kind of a thing. But when we get to that second verse, then good luck. Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way. danser la danse du bonheur. J'ai cru que l'amour était né dans un conte de fées. Mais aujourd'hui, je sais qu'il faut souvent quitter un lit trop chaud en souriant pour bien cacher tout ce qu'on a donné. J'ai vu l'amour des deux côtés, ces jours de gloire, de vérité, et c'est bien triste de penser que je n'ai rien appris du tout. Tears and fears and feeling proud to say I love you right out loud. Dreams and schemes and circus crowds, I've looked at life that way. But now old friends are acting strange. They shake their heads, they say I've changed. Something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. I've looked at life from both sides now, from win and lose, and still somehow it's life's illusions I recall. I really don't know life. J'ai vu la vie des deux côtés, ces jours de gloire, de vérité, et c'est bien triste de penser que je n'ai rien appris du tout.
Thank you so much. So we cover a lot of ground stylistically, as you have probably heard so far, and kind of go all over the place. But somebody pointed out more recently that we do everything except opera. And there'd be a reason behind that, which is I can't sing that, but we found an operatic tune that we could do. We on our last CD we recorded Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, and so right here, then this afternoon on this very stage on 10 strings, Hannah and I are going to attempt to do what Queen did in a recording studio with a band and multi-track vocals, but we're going to do it just the two of us. So good luck. Good luck with that. And if you'd like to sing along, please don't. Actually, if you can sing like Freddie Mercury, please do. And also, I know y'all know that in the middle of this song there's a headbanging section. And y'all look like a headbanging audience to me. So when we get there, I invite you to bang heads with me. I mean, not literally. You just, if you don't know what headbanging is, it's just where you do this in time to the music. And just let your hair fly if you have it. So here we go. A little Bohemian Rhapsody for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I saw a few headbangers out there.
That's right. So that was awesome. So one of the other things we've been doing on our creative sabbatical has also been beefing up our YouTube channel. And so for those of you who have seen us or gone to the YouTube channel, you'll know that we actually did Bohemian Rhapsody in our minivan that's parked right out here. We filmed it in there in our driveway because we couldn't go anywhere else, but we missed traveling. So we crawled in the van with the cello and the bow and the necks and the guitars and I mean everything. And
yeah, you haven't lived till you've seen a cello and being played in a minivan. That's really something.
We were lucky Joe didn't lose any limbs.
That's right.
Or get poked, but he did not. So, and we also filmed this next piece up in the mountains. We live about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes downhill from the mountains, and so we were able to go up and drive up on a beautiful day last September. And Joe shot a music video to this next piece that's on the new CD, and he shot it up there in the fluttering aspens, and it was just beautiful. So those are things that are on there. If you go on YouTube and type in Acoustic Eidolon, good luck spelling that, Eidolon. But even if you start Acoustic and EID, it should pop up. So that's the good thing. Get started on the right foot. But we, for the new CD, we decided to do a cover that we've loved for years. I have loved for years, which is Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah. And I've always been haunted by this song. Every time I hear it, it sticks in my head. I sing it in my little internal soundtrack that's constantly going for days. And so we were talking about music for this CD, and Joe said, we should probably do this one. I said, oh yeah, I'll do a killer cello arrangement of it. He goes, nope, you should sing it. And before I could do that though, I realized that I've always been haunted by this song, but I've really never felt like I understood it. And some of the words are kind of hard, and I just thought, what does that mean? If I'm going to deliver the song, I have to know what I'm doing here. And so I did what we do these days, and I Googled it. And I found this great article that Rolling Stone magazine had done on Leonard Cohen right after he wrote this song. And it's fascinating because it has him talking about the lyrics and the significance. And he said he wrote this song to be a picture of the human experience of faith. And he said, faith, we always feel like we have to be all kind of rosy or blessed or doing well or something like that, and that is not the human experience. And so this song, he said, he wanted it to come out of the times when life just knocks you off your pins, and yet we can still, as people, as humans, reach up in a hallelujah. And so it's a great article. You can feel free to Google it yourselves as well. It was really well written, and that's a very tiny synopsis of it. But after hearing just that much of it, I thought, okay, then I'm sold. So we'll take you into Hallelujah.
The
the chair. She broke your throne and she cut your hair, and from your lips she drew the hallelujah. 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 Peut-être qu'il y a un Dieu au ciel, et tout ce que j'ai jamais appris de l'amour était comment abattre quelqu'un qui tire plus vite que moi. Ce n'est pas un cri que tu peux entendre la nuit, ce n'est pas quelqu'un qui a vu la lumière, c'est un alléluia froid et cassé. Alléluia, 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 I did my best, but it wasn't much. I couldn't feel, so I tried to touch. I've told the truth, I didn't come to fool ya. And even though it all went wrong, I'll stand before the Lord of song with nothing on my tongue but
So we have one more tune for you, and before we do that, we want to thank who do we want? Anne Murray. Thanks again so very much for having us.
Yes.
And we have a special good friend of ours, Mr. Danny Gray, mixing our sound this afternoon. Thank you, Danny, for coming over. And our,
From Lord of the Strings and many other things we know from Lord of the Strings. So
That's right.
We so appreciate
yeah.
that.
I want to thank our tour manager, Miss Dina Carr. Thank you, Dina. She comes everywhere with us.
So in these times, in these crazy, crazy times of our creative sabbatical, one of the ways we had to reinvent our road manager is that she was facilitating a lot of our Zoom concerts. We booked over 35 Zoom concerts, private concerts for people that they could invite all their friends and family. We helped people celebrate through Christmas and into the new year. And Dina was at the helm from Rochester, Minnesota, and she flew out to help us film some of our concerts in the van. So she's her what do you call it where you have a task list?
Her job description.
Yeah, your job description.
Is really wide these days.
She does everything.
That's right. And a big thanks to all of you for coming out and sharing the afternoon. It's been just so wonderful for us to be able to get back up here and make the music live again for you. So thank you.
Thank you for being so
Supporting
good.
us. We'd love to visit with you all. We'll be over at the Acoustic Eidolon Mini Mart right after the show. So if you're enjoying, and if you decide to buy a CD or a DVD, we would be, and if you'd like it, we'd be happy to autograph it for you. We do this because it enhances its value after we're dead. So that would be why we do that. And
No.
that's right. We think of that as a long-term investment.
That's right.
So,
Good point.
yeah, that's right. So anyway, thanks again. We're going to leave you in Spain, another one of our favorite countries to tour. This is an original flamenco piece of ours. This is a Rio del Fuego, or River of Fire.
Once again, on behalf of all of our members of our board who are here and all of the members of our board who are not, we want to thank everyone for coming. I personally, you don't know this, can't wait to tell Bob Freeney, he's our board president, and a retired United Airlines pilot. I can't wait to tell him the cello story. I can't wait, okay? So please sit down. There's going to be one more encore. We are trying as much as we can today to replicate our normal concert experience. So we have some light refreshments and cookies like we always do on the library patio over here. And again, you can flow out to the outside patio area for those of you, and we hope you'll stay around and have a chance to meet and speak more directly with Hannah and Joe and support them in with the purchase of their CDs and their DVDs, which will also be there for sale in the back. Again, just for housekeeping, thank you all so very much for coming out and being with us today. Fallbrook Music Society will be back strong in August, and we look forward to welcoming you back again in person for yet hopefully a full year now of live music and concerts. So again, on behalf of all of us in the Fallbrook community, we want to thank Joe and Hannah for making the trip and for being with us today. It's been a real pleasure to have all of you with us, and God bless you, and thank you so much, all of you, for being here.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
So much.
And thank you again to Anne, because she has just been a fabulous facilitator and so upbeat and so positive and landing on her feet and holding. I mean, you have an amazing Fallbrook Music Society here. We're just so grateful that this all worked out from our side too, and grateful to Anne. So thank you. Well, we'd love to do one more from the brand new CD, just to show you another new piece. And this is one that we picked up in our travels. With this next piece, we're going to take you somewhere really far away. The tippy top of Alaska was pretty far too, but this is even further. And we're going to take you into the middle of the North Atlantic Sea to this cluster of islands called the Faroe Islands. And it's a cluster of 18 islands. They're in the sea halfway between Scotland and Iceland. They're under the crown of Denmark. And there are about 50,000 people who live on the Faroe Islands, speak Faroese, and there are over 70,000 sheep. So now you know who's really in charge of the islands. And it's just, we got to go there the summer, 2019, when we were all still doing this. We went and played a 2-week music festival and gave a bunch of concerts on different islands, and then took all these hikes during the days and went out to lighthouses and explored these cliffs, and it was absolutely spectacular. So if you're a birder, apparently this is one of the highlights as well. We're not, but it was still just breathtaking. There are puffins and gannets and all these huge seabirds that nest in the cliffs, and you're standing over the cliffs watching them all do their thing. It's just magical. So as part of that summer music festival, we were required as international artists to learn 50% of our set and perform Faroese music. And it was great, because we learned a bunch of new tunes, and then of course we brought them back with us. And so a couple of them are on the new CD. And this was one that was just a favorite. It's written by a Faroese composer named Christian Blak. And he wrote this piece. It's called Doimun. And Doimun is the smallest of the Faroe Islands, and it's so tiny that nobody lives on it. But apparently that doesn't always depend on size, because we were on a bigger island called Kalsoy, and we asked how many people live there year round, and they said 9. So I guess it's not really dependent on size, but we'll take you to these islands with the fog and the sea and the seabirds and all of that. We'll leave you with that in your heads, and we can't wait to meet you over there. Thank you. Thank you.